Good afternoon. The title of my presentation is Use the ground covers materials for increase the fruit color. In these trials, there are two objectives. The first is evaluate the light interception and light reflection with and without mylar and standard with different configuration on common apples, Evercrisp, Honeycrisp, NY-1 and NY-2. And the second objective was evaluate the effect of the reflective ground covers on a fruit red color. Okay, we use this machine for evaluate light interception. These machines have 9 bars. If you see, the bars 1, 2, and 3 evaluate light interception before reflection. You see, evaluate the light interception before reflection. The other three sensors evaluate the light reflection. I'm sorry. The other 3 sensors evaluate the light reflection of the ground cover. You can see 4, 5, and 6, and the last 3, the light reflection in the top of the tree. The first experiment was in 2020 in Evercrisp. The location was in Cherry Lime Farms. There are in this experiment there are 2 treatments with a standard and without a standard. You can see this is the row. There are part of row have not a standard and the other part have a standard. This is the result, the light interception percentage in Evercrisp. The blue line is the control treatment. In this case, is without extended. You can see in the first hours of the day, the light interception is higher. Lower values of light interception in the midday during 12 p.m. And at the end of the day, the light interception is higher. When we compare it with a standard system, we increment a 20% of light interception during all day. We win at 20% in all hours of the day, the light interception. This picture is in a cloudy day, light interception in a cloudy day. In the control street is 24%. We win at 20% of light interception with a standard, 48%. Okay, this is the result of the fruit color, the red fruit color percentage. The red bruise area, the average of the sample was at 74% in the control treatment, and we win at 13% with a standard. In this case, we have 87% of the red bruise area. But when we see the fruit color distribution, this color red is extra fancy, great. You can see in all yield, the control treatment have a 65% with extra fancy grade, and with extended we increase the yield of this classification in at 20%. In this case, with the treatment with extended show 85% of the yield with extra fancy grade. And if you see the two treatments show the similar the similar percentage of the yield with fancy color. The second experiment was in Honeycrisp in 5 training systems. Terence before explained this training systems. The training system evaluated was cordon, fruit wall, tall spindle, B-bound, and P-trellis. And in this case, we evaluate 3 treatments without ground cover, with standard, and with mylar. This is the orchard that we evaluate. Standard, you can see this is the B-trellis system. The tree is planted with a slope, and the other systems is a vertical systems, and this is the treatment with mylar. Okay, this is the result of light interception. You can see that all systems show similar light interception during all hours in the day. However, B-trellis show higher values of light interception because that I said before, this trees was planted with a slope and have more capacity for the reception of light. But when we compare it with mylar, you can see mylar show higher values of light interception. Okay, and when we see a stand day is the best system. Okay, the system is the highest values of light interception. Okay, stand day. When we see in a cloudy day, the result is the same. All training systems show similar values of the light interception, and B-trails show higher values. Moreover, when we see what systems have more light interception, the first position is for stand day, followed by mylar, and lower light interception for a control treatment. This is the light reflected for the ground cover. Okay, the all light that arrives in the ground cover, the quantity of light is reflected. The blue line is a control treatment, lower values. You can see the all treatments have 5% of light reflected because the light reflected in the width. But when we see the mylar increase at between 10 and 20% of light reflected. And the first position is for standard that for example, in fluid wall arrive at 50% of the light reflection. Okay, but the material reflected more light is standard followed by mylar, and the control is the lower values of the light reflected. Okay, this is the fruit color distribution in color red. In low red is the fancy. In the dark red is extra fancy and higher. You can see if this is a control treatment, the extra fancy, all treatments is around 10%, the extra fancy, except for tall spindle that this treatment have a 30% of the yield with an extra fancy cone classification. But when we see the treatment with mylar, in this case, all parameters, all training systems increase at 10% the fruit color. Okay, for example, B-bound fruit wall, in this case, has a 10%, and here have a 20% of the yield with extra fancy color. If we see the tall spindle increase the 10%, here is near of the 30%, and here is near of the 40%. When we go a standard, we increase other 10%. Okay, in this case, the extra fancy classification for B-bound and fruit wall here is near the 40% of the yield with extra fancy, and here is a 20%. At the end, extended increase at 20% respect to the control, and mylar at 10% of the yield with extra fancy classification. The first trials is in 2021 in NY-1 and NY-2 cultivars. There are 5 treatments without ground cover, 2 treatments with extended. We put in the center of the row 1 treatment, and other treatment is in the herbicide area. You can see in the pictures these 2 treatments, and we evaluate 2 materials of the standing. The first material is the 80% of the reflection, and the second material is the 90% of the reflection. Okay, this is the result of NY-1. Blue line is a control treatment. You see the light reflected for the material is low, but when we see the mylar treatments show similar values in the 2 compositions, in the center, in the herbicide strip. Okay, you can see these 2 materials increase the light reflection. The maximum light reflected is in the middle of the day, and after follow it, the next material with more light reflected is extended at 80% and higher values of light reflected for extended at 90%. When we go in a cloudy days, the light reflected the result is the same. The 2 mylar systems showed similar values of light reflected, and the 2 materials of extended similar values of light reflected. When we go in NY-2, this is a control treatment. This is the two materials of mylar. In this case, mylar in the center of the row show lower value, the light reflected in comparison with mylar in the herbicide area. And after, near of the mylar in the herbicide area is standing at 80% and higher light reflected for standing at 90%. When we see the result in a cloudy day, it is the same that in comparison with NY-1, at 10% of light reflected for mylar materials and at 20% for standard. This is the fruit color distribution for NY-1. You can see the color dark red is extra fancy and extra fancy, and the control treatments show a 20% of the extra fancy color, a 20% of the yellow with extra fancy color. The mylar in the center so increment at 20% the yellow with good color with extra fancy. In this case is a 40%, and mylar in the other side area and two extended materials in case the extra fancy grade are between 60% or 70% of the year. Is a great increment respect to the control. When we see the NY-2 treatments, you can see in this case the two materials of mylar show similar fruit color in comparison with the control, and extended 80% increase at 10% of the yield with extra fancy color. In this case, at 30% of the yield, the maximum good coloration we win with extended at 90%. In all these orchards, we pick samples. This is the samples in NY-1. You can see this is a control treatment. It's more yellow in comparison with the mylar in comparison with the all other treatments. Maybe we can see this is between the maximum red color and the control. Well, if you see the picture, the result is the same. It's evident that we win color with all systems with light reflected. In NY-2, this is the samples. You can see the all samples with mylar is similar with control treatment, and standard show better color. When we see the picture with the fruit color distribution, show the same that this picture. Why mylar can show lower values of light reflected? Because this is the problem. The degradation of this system is really fast. Okay, when there are raining days, you can see this is after raining days, the light reflection is lower. When there are periods of wind, the plastic is broke, and this is the wells of the tractor. Maybe before harvest is necessary doing applications, and this is the wells of the tractor, and the plastic more times is broke, and this way in all these cases is necessary replacement the plastic for increase the light reflector and the color. And the conclusions of this study, our studies show it there are important differences between reflect ground covers with higher percentage of the reflection from extended, followed by mylar in the herbicide strip, and extended at 80%, and finally mylar between the rows. Additionally, our study suggests that the light reflection and interception was different between training systems, and all reflective ground covers increase the red-blue area. Before finish, I want to say thank you. I evaluate light interception in all these farms, and I think it's important and say thanks and Cherryland Farms, Waffle Nursery Farms, Demarest Fruit Farms, and Vanderbilt Fruit Farms. Thank you all, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Luis.